Hey folks, Steve here with another Dark Valley video. Today we'll be looking at turn 41, which is the first turn in 1945, and is still a snow turn in terms of weather. And we're in the last 4 turns of the game, everybody. We've made it. We're in the final turns, and I'm not exactly sure when we're going to finish up here. I've been managing to get a video out a day because, when my work day is done, I can just get right to gaming for a little bit before I do other things. So I'm managing to get some stuff knocked out, but it may not be until maybe sometime next week I'll be done with this. We'll see. Next week I'm going to be pretty busy, so I might not even get to play at all. So it still may be a while before we're done, but we're making good progress this week. I'm glad for that. So we'll jump right into things. Again, we had a great turn as the Soviets, the other turn where we were smashing through the Axis line. The fact that they don't have replacements is having a big deal. The fact that I sort of went kind of too heavy in the north, so as they're pulling back, they really have a lot of units that they can't move very swiftly. The rail capacity of the Axis is limited at this point in the game, and so it's hard for them to redirect forces to defend the critical parts of Germany. Though between these next 4 turns, the Soviets realistically have 8 moves if you count a deep battle post-combat move as full movement. So we're on a pretty harsh timer, and it's going to be tough to even figure out, only the fastest of our units will probably get to Berlin if they get there at all. So we've got a lot of distance to cover, all things considered, and we'll be looking at that as we go. Axis reinforcements are really basic. We are getting just this SS Tiger Battalion. I think it's considered SS, but the 101st. And then a Tiger Battalion returns from the other fronts box. So these guys are going to go somewhere. I was trying to figure out where I wanted to put them, and to be honest, I think I'm going to chuck them in Breslau, because they need to be some speed bumps down here to some degree. I need to get more forces down in the south. But there's some other issues at play here. Let me just double check. Okay. We have to remove 1 Panzer Army HQ, 1 air unit, and its base. So, here's the grand decision point, right, for the Axis. What do you take away? All these units are susceptible to being, overrun or having issues. I will be able to rebase, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, for the air. So, we'll say, this air is going to go away. Oh, he's actually the one that gets a bonus, so maybe we shouldn't do that. We'll get rid of this one, so he comes off the map. And then the HQ, so we have an HQ here to support, defending the heartland of Germany, and then we have this guy up here that is trying to help pull guys back home. So here's the question, right? Do I use that extra activation to adjust my weakened line here, or do I use that extra activation to try to get some of these guys back home and use them to defend? What I'm worried about is that even if I move guys around here, there's not enough guys here to do anything with. They're going to possibly get destroyed and eliminated, and so what can that HQ even do other than try to pull them back to Berlin? And they might just get encircled or outrun anyway, where if I'm moving these guys down, they may be able to move far enough, especially the ones that may get in range of, or the HQ getting in range of armor units, that they can try to race home. So I think what I'm going to do and this might be a mistake. But my thinking is, if I stop the extra movement up here, these guys could very well just get cut off, and then they're gone, basically. So I'm going to get rid of the 4th Panzer, leaving us with 1 Panzer left. And the only saving grace we're going to have is that next turn, a bunch of our SS armored divisions are going to return to the game, so they will form a final, pretty strong actually, line of defense in the homeland that is going to give the Soviets some trouble in the waning parts of the turn, and it looks like they're going to get some reinforcements as well. So, the Axis still actually has a little bit of manpower, a little more resources to pull on to get guys on the board, and our rate of destruction of the Axis may not be enough now to totally knock them out of the game and cause Soviet victory. So we'll see what happens. So with that done, I'm going to do the Soviet replacements. They don't have reinforcements this turn, so I'm going to work out the Soviet replacements rather. I'm going to get them all put together, and then we'll do some air base segment stuff, the strategic movement, which the Axis is going to be hoping for a good roll, but they might not, and the Soviets are going to do what they can. And I'm probably going to do the air, so I've got, I think it's like 3 right now anyway. I got 2 here, and like 1 here, and I think they're all in range of Stavka right now. That I can do an airdrop this turn, and at this point I need to, because they can only airdrop in the Soviet Union, and really the last Axis units in the Soviet Union are like right around here, and so I'm just going to use them to cause step losses on these retreating Germans, just to see if I can knock some guys off. That's really the best thing I can do. Maybe target target hexes where I can remove Zocs, and then that way those forces will be that much weaker, and I can slam them as they're retreating, hit them from behind, and start taking guys out. But it's only going to be 3 step losses, but hey, that at this point, I need to do it. I still have some airborne down here that basically haven't been able to be used because of the position of Stavka. So we're going to have to figure that out. At this point, I need to probably pull Stavka down. Camera goofed up there for a minute. I think I need to have Stavka move down here so that both the HQs are driving the extra combat and move northwest, which is the direction we need to go to get to Berlin. So I'll be figuring that out as we go here. But I'm going to take care of all that. Strategic movement type stuff, and then we'll come back for the actions phase. So be right back. Okay, so looking at the map just after all of that, not a whole lot has changed. We did get a German infantry corps pulled back to here from up here via rail, trying to put a Zoc. Just really getting 1 unit with some Zocs does a lot of good in these wide open spaces in Germany, because the Soviet units are going to have to stop and deal with that, or I've got some ideas about how I can try to, fight my way through that. But those Zocs really do have present a challenge, I guess is the way to say it, because we need to get through there, right? And so, but again, I'm playing well as the Axis, pulling guys back, doing everything I can just to put hurdles in there. I did use my airborne, and I knocked out some units over here and reduced, so there is actually a gap, though it's through tough terrain, that I can try to sneak some guys, either wrapping around these guys right here, and then that might help open the way through this, or I could just try to snake what units I can up here. It's going to be hard to do that, but anything is an impediment. Anything we can do to slow down the Axis and get in that retreat would help. So I could get some infantry guys and kind of walk them through the rough terrain, and at least get in the Axis backfield. I've got plenty of units with high movement factors that are bunched up over here as the Soviets, but they can only get so far. So a lot of them are probably going to be wrapping around down here themselves. They don't need to worry too much about what the Axis can do in the north, so they don't have to be built up there as much. Now it's almost returning back to a battle of maneuver rather than just a line, attacking somewhere along the line, because the Axis needs to get these guys down here. We need to get through here. There are gaps. We need to figure out how to exploit those gaps. So the excitement's kicking in a little bit here as we're trying to figure out how do we get through the rest of this and take care of business here. So we'll be looking at doing that. Real quick, looking at the activation markers for the turn, looking in Crimea as we've been. So Axis has their move chit, their combat chit, and the 2nd Panzer, which again is supporting the retreat near Prussia. The Soviets have their 2, either-or chits, Stavka, but I don't actually have anything in Stavka. Again, at this point, Stavka's usefulness has waned because just, reinforcing units and then activating them to move, I mean, we're past the point where that really gets us anything of value with the present board position. I'd rather have all my units on the front line or have been moving them via rail movement to a better place to proceed forward. And then now that I'm doing this, I just realized I did forget to do the Russian reinforcements, so I got to stop and do that crap. Anyway, that doesn't change the commentary here. We do have deep battle, so we're talking about what are we allowed to do, what can we do in this turn. Well, if we do movement first, logistics doesn't matter, Stavka won't really matter. 2nd Panzer kind of matters, and the Axis combat probably won't, but we'll see. Now it's a 66% chance, honestly, of the real chits that we're pulling that we care about. Technically, I guess we don't want the 2nd Panzer to come up before we've had our actions, but at least for that big general move where a lot of stuff can be a pain, we have a 66% chance, 2 out of the 3 chits of import here that will come out of the cup, where we will get combat after movement, and I think that's really important. I mean, a great way for this to play out would be to get something like that, where we are going to move up, we're going to conduct combat, maybe we'll have broken through, and we'll get to move again, and then we'll get another combat. That would really be ideal, and that will allow us to be, probably exactly where I need the Soviets to be, but we'll see if it actually pans out that way. If, here it's kind of interesting, just having this extra chit matters a lot, because if it's move, counter move, well, if we do deep battle, that will allow us to catch up a little bit in some parts of the line, and we could see some benefits there. So I don't know. I think this movement phase is going to be really important as the Soviets, because they need to basically move all of their guys in such a way that they can make use of the rest of the chits, right? That ability to get into combat, but to also arrange a lot of our fast movers over here more down this way, so that they are in range of Stavka, and when we do deep battle and then move, that and then move part is of value to us, because again, we'd really like to just completely isolate that huge amount of guys and allow the rest of the Soviet forces to continue plowing their way through Germany. That's the ideal here. So, okay, I think that's it. I'm actually going to go and do the reinforcements now, and for the Soviets, and then when we come back, I'll do again a little bit of commentary, and then I'll do the move. So we'll be back. Okay, here we are after Soviet movement. You can see I'm excited, but I don't know if I should get too excited as the Soviets here. So we're still kind of moving down from our side trip to Ventspils and approaching Memel. You can see I've got an okay line around here. I've left a lot of the infantry with enough stacking there to be in relatively good shape. We could still, we could probably attack along here and do some damage, and we'll probably look to do that. you can see, because I eliminated some Zocs down here, I snaked some units through some of the cavalry, which actually proved pretty useful, and some of the other units. So now I'm actually putting some of these guys in a really difficult position, just in terms of, you know, where can they go from here, what can they do. They're stuck in Zocs kind of no matter where they're going, and that should, you know, we should be able to just simply eliminate them. We've got forces over here ready to start punching through to Königsberg, and we have Warsaw basically surrounded and besieged at the moment. And there's not a whole lot the Axis can really do about that. So, you know, plenty of fast movers down here. So the idea being, you know, we're going to knock these guys out, and then, you know, if we manage to get like a deep battle this turn, right? This would be great because we could hit them, and then surge forward, and we could potentially cut off this big set of units. We could be wrapping down around here, and we will have put the Axis basically in a very difficult position. But again, it matters on how the chits come out. Down below here, we have our massed artillery ready to once again smash through sort of, we'll say, southeastern Germany, or eastern Germany, or the northeastern Germany. We're butting up against Silesia, and we're going to crack through there just about any second. Things are a little, you know, crossing over the mountains. That's still kind of a weird situation where we can get units. We've still got guys lagging behind. I don't know if this was just, you know, I overweighted my Romanian invasion, but it seems like, you know, I did, which is a bummer, but, you know, that's part of learning the game, I guess. You can see I've sort of situated it so that I should have a strong attack against this unit. If I knock it out, I'll have one guy advance, and then I'll leave, because I have a guard infantry army here. Have the army advance if we can eliminate this guy, and then if we get a movement, the next movement for this unit, we won't get it this turn, but the next movement's going to send this guy over to grab that oil, so it's going to force the Axis to either relocate a unit over there if they can, which they probably won't be able to, and they'll just have to make a decision, right? So we're forcing the Axis's hand. We couldn't quite get movement because of the hills and mountains, combat on every hex over here, but we've got some combats that are possible over here. That will help, and, you know, we'll make some progress there. It's just a bummer that they really won't be able to make use of deep battle here. So it could be, you know, Hungary is one of the last holdouts of the Axis, maybe, is how it all shake out. Is maybe didn't execute well here. But maybe I overstocked it with Axis units too, right? I don't know. So I feel pretty good about the present board situation for the Soviets right this second. What matters is what order the chits come out and what happens then, right? So we're going to have to pull the next chit and see what we get. Any of the Soviet chits at this point would be excellent. Deep battle would probably be best. Let's see what we get. Second Panzer. All right, well, there you go. The Germans are going to be able to sneak away a little bit here, and they're going to be able to cover their butts a little bit. And that HQ's right here, so he's going to be able to activate a lot of guys in this big sort of salient that is now sticking out, and they're going to be running for the hills, I guess, to try to surge back towards Königsberg. It's a bummer that the Soviets didn't get deep battle here. That's really that would have been game changing if we drew deep battle, but we didn't, and so we are left to the vices of the cup here, and the Axis is going to get a chance to slip away. I'm going to take myself off camera, and we'll see that activation, and we'll see, you know, where things end up. We'll be right back. Okay, here we are after that Panzer activation, and gosh, they flew back, you know, running as fast as they could given the winter, and they still managed to get many units sort of near Königsberg, which really sort of fouls up what we would have wanted to do as the Soviets, which is a bummer. Still, you know, we now have the potential still for some goodness as as the Soviets. So we're gonna have to go to the cup and hope for the best here. It's a real bummer. That was such a bummer, man. We were real close. And I think that would be if it ends up being the Soviets lose, I would say that shit draw is the reason why they lose, because had we gotten deep battle there, I mean, I think that would be, that would be like almost game end, right? We would be able to really smash through here and get some progress and capture that entire army group out of supply and isolated. But we're nearly isolated, but we didn't draw it. We drew something else, so that's the bummer, right? That could be that may be the deciding chip pull, but we'll see what else comes out of the cup. Now, if the Axis gets their move, then we're going to be in rough shape here as the Soviets. So, what are we going to get? Okay, so we get regular combat as the Soviets. Not the best pool. Again, deep battle may have been better, but we'll take what we can get here, and we'll do some major offensives all along the line here, and hope for the best. So I'm gonna take myself off camera here and conduct combats. Obviously, we're only gonna be able to combat over here, down this line, and then down in the south. But should put us in a decent position, and we might have been able to clear out a path to Breslau, which would be useful. So I'll be back. Okay, here we are after combat. So we did now close close this guy down, essentially, and eliminated some guys, pushed some back. We still have a number of dudes here who can still be a threat or still be a decent defense if they can get into a better position. But we'll see. I didn't roll as well as I would have liked with artillery. You can see down here we did move ahead. We took Warsaw via a retreat. And the funny thing was, with the way the Zoks were set up, they could retreat, but the only direction they could go was towards Soviet lines. And the book says they can do that if it means they won't be eliminated. But now he's going to be, at this point, he'll be isolated. Or maybe he won't be isolated. I don't know. It's sort of a weird situation that he's sort of stuck behind enemy lines. He's certainly out of supply, and I'm going to need to send a couple units to go deal with him, I guess. I don't know. It wouldn't take much to throw a couple Zoks around him and truly isolate him, but I need another move in order for me to be able to do that. So I'm not sure what else can be done there. But yeah, and then down here, we've busted through pretty well actually now, and we can, if we get deep battle, we can swoop around and start cutting off some of these rail lines around Upper Silesia. Maybe even start heading towards Prague with a fast-moving unit, and we'll be in okay shape there. Pretty good. We're smashing through, and then down in the south, we've definitely, took some BL1s, but we've sort of come around. There's only a few units left in Hungary. We're going to collapse that here very shortly and knock them out. So, pretty good turn. We'll draw from the cup next and hope that it's deep battle with no guarantee that it will be, but that's what we're hoping. And what do we get? Is that deep battle? There it is. Okay. Not the best order, but we'll take it. I think our one challenge is that our HQs are, still not perfectly positioned. They were positioned well. Had deep battle come up earlier. Now we'll be racing to try to get guys up and around where we really want them to be. But we'll make do with what we got. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. So deep battle, excellent. And just a reminder, this isn't everybody gets to activate. So in case you're thinking, oh, we're going to smash through in Hungary. No. It is units within Stavka and Zhukov that can do battle and then move. So it's really more localized over here and down here. But down here is just fine and dandy because we're gonna knock some guys, and we're gonna clear some stuff out for sure. So Um, I will be right back when we're done conducting deep battle. You should see some Soviet units in the backfield of the Axis. We'll see how far we get. So we'll be right back. Ah, what happened? Well, we did really well. We couldn't quite close off the entirety of the Axis army up there, but gosh, we've gotten far, haven't we? I've sent a couple of fast movers out to Prague. I've got a guy going towards Vienna to cut off the rail lines up there. Really, I guess the critical thing being, if we cut those rail lines, all these guys down here are going to be out of supply, which, I mean, there's not much to defend anyway, but that's the critical thing here. We forced our way through, and we're really hurting the I guess I should have made one slight adjustment there. There we go. Yeah, we we've gotten quite far. Now, I might have overextended myself in some spots. I think that's okay. I mean, at this point, we've taken Silesia. We're moving to cut the Axis in half. Breslau has one unit out there just daring the Axis to attack it, though I suspect that they won't. With the idea that we're simply going to we're going to end up knocking Breslau out of supply very shortly here, and Berlin is in sight. So my concern has been a little bit alleviated, but that combat and move proved useful. We're surging around, we're surging ahead. There's only so many places that the Axis can go now. Even if they're trying to surge all the way west, we've managed to put some Zocs out there that are going to slow them down and keep them from, basically there's like one hex, and that's an Elbing, which they can move through to get further west, and I'm telling you, they're going to have a hard time doing it. They have one critical rail line open still that allows them to rail some guys out of there, but I couldn't get any farther, unfortunately, and again, something like Stavka wouldn't help. So, excellent stuff here, excellent rolls. I missed a couple artillery shots, but it ended up not mattering too much. We stomped on through, and there is not much more that they can do to stop us at this point. We're heading right in for the end game here in the last couple of turns. So with that said, I'm going to pull the last chits. These chits are all basically Axis chits at this point, so this kind of matters on where and what we pull. So we get, okay, so there's the Axis move. Will the Axis be able to do anything? Well, they've got some guys who are locked up in Zocs. Yeah, I don't really see. There's going to be a lot of guys that even if they try to emergency withdrawal, won't help them too much. So it's going to take some time for me to figure things out. I think back here, they're certainly going to try to pull back to beyond the Danube, but they're hurting. They're certainly hurting, and there's not much that can be done to stop it. So it is now just a play for time. Bunch of these useless Soviet units are haunting me here, but overall, I think we're making progress. We got the fast movers rolling. Heck, next turn, let's see, what's the fastest route to Berlin? We got to cross some rivers to get to Berlin. That's the thing that's going to slow us down. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could get next to Frankfurt on the Oder in one more move. So it's still going to take us, we're going to need every turn we can to get here. And moving the HQs up so that they can actually activate units is going to be sort of the other important piece of the puzzle here. I guess my HQ movement is like, I'm trying to think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should work. Okay. And yeah, excellent stuff. Things are going well. So I'll take myself off camera. I'll worry about Axis movement, and when we come back, we should see the Axis struggling to get away. In many cases, they have been Zoc locked or stuck. But this mass up here still has an opportunity to try to bring some guys back. So we'll see. It's going to be hard for them. It's going to take time. I'm going to knock over a lot of stacks with my tweezers, I think. But we'll see what happens. We'll be right back. Okay, so here is the map after Axis movement. You can see, we're basically, skirting around, Danzig and Prussia at this point. Everyone's trying to run through, and the fast-moving tank divisions are doing what they can to try to get on the other side of the river there, and well, we'll see what happens, right? The only chits left are Axis combat, which I don't know that I see anything really happening there. I could see maybe one attack to eliminate a weakened guard tank army that I left a little open, which may have been a mistake. And then there's logistics, which won't do a whole lot this turn. Those couple of units are going to get knocked out that are here and here, but that's not really a big deal. The important thing will be next turn, I guess, where we get a number of SS units, and they're going to go into places like Prague, they're going to go into Vienna, they're going to go into Berlin, and it's not going to be this easy thing where the Soviet forces just kind of swoop in. They're going to end up having defenders here, and that's going to be the real challenge of getting these last remaining cities. I did a check, and we're down to 7 victory points for the Axis, and we still gotta knock those guys out if we want to win the game. So it's going to be a tough run here to make it, I guess, is the key thing. We really got to try to get in there and take it. Berlin is not a fort. Prague is not a fort. Vienna is not a fort. Breslau is a fort, but I think the Soviets are simply going to surround it with Zocs and let it be besieged next turn. But these other areas, the Soviets are probably going to be reliant on forcing a DR result to force these cities to be vacated and to capture the victory points. Now, it looks like I'm going to have a pretty decent capability to just cut the Axis swarm over here out of supply. I'm going to cut the critical rail lines over the next Soviet move with the fast movers. They should be able to cut everything off, and that will be pretty significant for the Soviets, and then it'll just be a wash of Soviet units slamming into the remaining units on the map. So we'll see how well that goes. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not sure we'll get exactly where we want to be. But there you go. So I'm just going to pull the next chit, and we'll see what comes up. Out of the 2 that are left, and we get, okay, Axis combat. Now if I look at the points of contact, there's not many, and I really don't see anywhere where an attack would even be useful or even do any damage at all, honestly. More like the attackers would hurt themselves. That's not going to work here, might be. So that would be 14 to 10. That would just be 1-to-1 odds. And the Axis has a chance to actually destroy that army. So I think they're going to do it. They're going to roll on a 1-to-1. They're just going to let it happen. And they rolled a 6 there. So what's that? 1-to-1 6 is a DR result. So they're actually going to force this guy back, which doesn't do too much. They didn't eliminate the guard tank army there, but it does set them back in terms of movement. That actually might be a good thing for the Soviets, because now they can replenish that unit since it's out of contact. And then the final chit here is going to be logistics. So it comes last, and I'm not even going to really mark it because it should be plain to see that this unit will be marked as isolated due to all the Zocs, and he'll be eliminated, and so will this guy here. Pretty sure, yeah, he's going to be out. So all those guys were isolated. So we lost 2 German infantry corps. Really not much left to defend with, but it almost doesn't matter now. We're playing for time. Guys that are destroyed on the Axis side, no big deal. Guys that are left behind might not even be a big deal. The Axis are still going to get their, next turn is really their last allotment of reinforcements that they'll get. They're going to get, again, a bunch of Tiger divisions, basically, SS units, strong units that are going to be used to defend the remaining cities. The only funny thing is that when it comes to cities, mech are halved. So if I use these mechanized units in the cities to defend, they're only going to defend at half strength, which I don't know. It's sort of like, any unit's better than no units kind of thing. But we can still rail some guys, some of the infantry into the cities. That may be the most important thing to do. If the Axis can rail infantry into the cities, let's say I roll a 6 for my my pull, then I can pull infantry into the cities, and then I can bring in the tank units to play sort of a field defense and put them out in front of the cities, and that may just be enough to delay the Soviets to win. But anyway, that's really the end of the turn already, relatively quickly. Played through pretty fast. Now it is all going to be coming down to, what can we do? How do the chits come out this turn? We got pretty lucky this turn. We managed to get our combats back to back, except for that second Panzer move that really kind of delayed. Man, if we just pulled that later, you're right. If the Soviets had gotten all their chits out, they would have put the Axis in a very terrible position. They're still bad now, right? But the Axis is still kicking. We're going to get to the point now where we don't even need a showdown here. It's going to be like just zoomed in for the rest of the game. We'll be right here, the final areas, as we get into Germany. Anyway, I think that's it for this. This is turn 41, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Appreciate it if you've been watching this whole time. We're getting towards the end, only 3 turns left. So see ya next time, guys. And until then, take care, keep on gaming.